Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. We are here today to talk about more Street Fighter 6 and specifically about the story, the general story of Street Fighter 6. What's in the World Tour mode and also just what's everywhere else in the arcade mode or whatever have you. What's going on with the story of Street Fighter 6? Because here we are, less than a month away from the launch, and we actually do not know much, if at all, about the actual story of the game. Now, say, compared to Street Fighter V, I guess that's fair, because Street Fighter V, there literally was not a story. The Street Fighter V story mode came out like 4 or 5 months after the game actually launched, so there just wasn't story to be had. But hey, in Street Fighter 6, there very obviously is. That's why we have World Tour mode, a whole mode dedicated to creating your character and experiencing the world of Street Fighter 6. Except we don't even know something as simple as who's the villain. Now, yes, we have a pretty good idea. It's probably JP. That's a safe bet. But still, we don't know for sure. Compared to, say, Street Fighter 4, which did have a story, we knew who the big bad was out of the gate in the early advertising.
My apologies for the late introduction. I am Seth.
So in this video, I want to talk about what we do know about the general story going into Street Fighter 6 and what Street Fighter 6 has, and what we don't know. So some of the footage you're seeing here, this is my time when I was at Capcom playing the World Tour mode, and I got further than you're allowed to go into the demo, and I still don't know the general plot other than the Mad Gear gang seems to be a nuisance in Metro City. And obviously the World Tour mode spans a lot more than Metro City. So that said, let's talk about some of the things we do know for sure. So on the Street Fighter Twitter, they've been posting these mini character bios. You know, preview the character, give you a hint what they're about, all that kind of stuff. That's great marketing. But they're at least giving us some hints on what we already suspected or already knew going forward for some of the characters and their story. So say Lily, she's traveling the world. That's about it. Not too much motivation than that. But one thing we have reconfirmation on is, say, for Ryu. In Ryu's little mini blurb here, it talks about how he is all the way done with the Satsui no Hado. It is overcome. So he's moving on. So the path of evil Ryu, Ryu versus Akuma, all that stuff, we're done with it. This is a new chapter for Ryu. Who knows where it's actually going to go, because certain enemies may not be around anymore as well, as we'll talk about in a moment. But bright future for Ryu. For Akuma, who knows? We talked about it in another video, and I'll link that video in the video description for you if you want to check it out. But without the whole Ryu angle, Akuma might be going down an extra dark path now without that crutch, basically, to hold him back. So let's talk about what we know isn't happening, and that is Bison and Shadaloo. Says right here in Guile's little ditty, Guile succeeded in dismantling Shadaloo and avenging his friend Charlie. He enjoys living the life of a family man. Hey, he knows a thing or two about being a family man, right? But new battlefields await him. So the story continues, but Shadaloo's story is done and over with. At the end of Street Fighter V, when Ryu beat Bison, that's it, that's all. He is actually done for real this time. And yes, we know how it goes. Bison can transfer his power, transfer his soul, clone bodies, all that nonsense. But multiple character bios bring up the fact that Shadaloo is just capital D, done now. Even in some of the win quotes in Street Fighter 6 itself, like JP when he beats Cammy, he talks about Shadaloo and he says, Shadaloo is no more, my little doll. So JP, obviously maybe Cammy thinks, with the Psycho Power he's related or whatever to Shadaloo, but no, Shadaloo is just done. Now, of course, there is the question of Neo Shadaloo. As you probably well know, Ed will be in the Season 1 DLC, so he will return, and thus Neo Shadaloo will return with him to a degree. But Neo Shadaloo is like an anti-Shadaloo. It is made in opposition of Shadaloo. So not necessarily a bad guy organization, although as we know, parts of Bison's psyche, his power or whatever, do reside within the Neo Shadaloo members. Most importantly, the friggin' gorilla houses Bison's wisdom. And yes, that is canonical. That's straight from Takayuki Nakayama himself. So when's the psycho-powered gorilla DLC? That's the real question here. But yeah, in like half of these bios, it just brings up. There is no more Shadaloo. So unless there's some sort of major fake out, that is not where we're going. The specter of Shadaloo is long gone in Street Fighter 6. Okay, so no Bison, no Shadaloo, so what do we know for sure we're working into with Street Fighter 6? Well, I guess the big thing would be JP and Ken. So JP and Ken is the focus of the prequel comics, which we'll talk about in a moment, and all the very little story mode we have info is basically focused on these two. So JP, who is he? One of the new characters, psycho power user, an important businessman who is working with the developing country of Nayshall, who we have seen in the World Tour mode. Basically, seemingly somewhere in India, maybe. We don't know for sure, so they can keep some of that magic. So on paper, minus the psycho power, seems like a good guy. Although that win pose doesn't do him any favors, really. And then we have Ken Masters, deranged homeless madman. Everything went so well until accusations of orchestrating a criminal plot forced Ken to abandon his family and business and go into hiding. And this has to do everything with Nayshall and seemingly with JP himself. And was he framed? Well, we don't know for sure yet because the prequel comics aren't all the way there yet. Although we do know enough that you shouldn't feel that bad for him. So the first 2 issues of the comic are out and they're actually both completely free to read. They're on the Capcom website directly. I'll link that for you in the video description as well. So if you want to read them, there you go. But yeah, we're setting up, there's going to be some sort of martial arts tournament in Nayshall. It's going to be held by JP, who is Nayshall's sponsor / benefactor, and they're going to use Ken to help advertise it, because Ken's the former US martial arts champion. He's kind of a big deal, right? Makes sense to bring in a big name to your event you want to advertise. And basically, draw eyes on Nayshall. Hey, we're a modern city / country now. We're doing great. Come visit. So what's Ken up to these days? Well, he's running the Masters Foundation himself because his dad's gone for the moment. And he's spending company money on cryptocurrency. For real. This isn't a meme. This isn't a joke. This is canon right from the prequel comic right on the Capcom website. So keep in mind before you feel bad for whatever happens to Ken, when he finally got his hands on the wheel and started running the company himself, he started spending all the company money on cryptocurrency and the board freaked out on him for it. That and whatever micro insurance is. Ken's not the best with money, it seems to be. So whatever corporate money he's not spending on Dogecoin and NFT apes, he is investing in Nayshall and trying to help get Nayshall off the ground. Basically trying to turn it into like a techno-utopia. A lot of money, a lot of tech, advance the country very quickly. Thing is, looks like Nayshall is a place caught between 2 worlds. There's a lot of traditional folk who don't care for all this newfound money and technology flowing into the country. And the Masters Foundation is seemingly very much seen as the bad guy here. Now, where we're at in issue 2 at the very least is there's a lot of hacking going on. A not anonymous group called Amnesia is hacking the airwaves and telling everyone what a nasty man that Ken Masters is. That he's actively trying to destabilize the country. He's selling arms, weapons, support, all that kind of stuff to dissidents, as it were. And he's also investing even more into cryptocurrency than he already openly is with the board to nefarious means and nefarious ends. And they even have him dead to rights saying all this stuff on video. Pretty convenient. You know, if I'm going to have my evil master monologue and all that kind of stuff, I definitely want to make sure to have it videotaped and put on the air. That's how I would do it. So is this what Ken Masters was quote unquote framed for? Well, I guess it's up for us to find out because the comic's not quite done just yet. Good on Amnesia for exposing this fraud, Ken Masters though. Now, when Ken finds out about this, he throws a fit, and thankfully Chun-Li is there to put him down like the dog that he is if he can't control himself. Now, when thrown to Chun-Li's tech department, they say that the video is a deep fake. Yes, that's right. Apparently the plot of Street Fighter 6 is about deep fakes and cryptocurrency. That's how far we've come from the halcyon days of Street Fighter 2 in 1991. Now, is it a deep fake? Is it real? Who actually knows? I guess we'll have to find out. I think that sinister looking Ken is about accurate to me. But it ends with how we currently know it. Ken on the run. Ain't nobody a fan of Ken Masters no more after that nasty speech was uncovered about how he wanted to destabilize the country and just make money from it. So he puts on some rags and just goes into hiding. Now, for other little story quibbles like Amnesia, the not anonymous group that exposed Ken Masters on a very public scale, what about them? And how come one of JP's moves is called Amnesia? Well, if JP has a move called Amnesia, and Amnesia is the group that was involved in this. Surely they must be linked, right? And to that I say, get your mind out of the gutter. I swear you Ken fans will do anything to make sure Ken doesn't take any blame. Sure, JP did it. Yeah, whatever, bud. Maybe amnesia is just a really cool name for a move. Ever think about that? But that's where we're at right now. Nasty man Ken Masters tried to destabilize the country. Good thing the heroic amnesia organization exposed that. And now he's on the run. And JP, well, he's got a country to run. If any one thing is the main focus of the World Tour story mode, this is probably it. Especially because Nayshall is the other major exploration hub besides Metro City. Nayshall is a very, very important part of the game. But even say if JP is the main villain of the game, right? You can still learn from him as your master in World Tour mode. So if he's going to accept your random crazy character off the street, as it were, and teach you his stuff, I guess he can't be all that bad and rotten, right? So it presupposes the question, okay, if we can actually have JP as our master, we can learn master moves from him, learn his actual moves and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem like the dude we're gonna beat up at the end of World Tour mode, right? So who is the dude we beat up at the end of the World Tour mode? We can't beat up nobody. We're not gonna go for like the Fallout diplomacy ending speech check, right? We're gonna kick someone's head in. So whose head are we kicking in at the end of the game? And this is where I feel a lot of secrets are gonna come into play. Like, as of a few hours before I made this video, we found out Retsu, of all people. Retsu, the dude from Street Fighter 1. You can find him and fight him in the World Tour mode. And if Retsu can show up, who else is going to show up? We've already seen Carlos from Final Fight 2, and I'm sure there's going to be many, many, many more surprises to come. Especially because, well, there's a lot of unfinished story hooks in Street Fighter, especially coming off of Street Fighter 5. Like, say, literally everything about G. So what's G's deal? We don't know. We don't actually know. We can guess, I suppose, but we don't know. He is some manner of elemental, some manner of force. He's not just some dude. And the presidentiality he taps to in the Earth is a real thing. It's an actual resource. Earth actually generates a presidentiality aura that you can tap into and gain strength from. And he's treated like a big deal. And a lot of the other bigger deal characters in the terms of the plot, like Oro, Dalsum, Rose, they treat him like a big deal too. They don't know what to make of him. And as of the course of all of the lifespan of Street Fighter V, we don't make anything of him. He's just a giant unknown. So, like, hopefully he shows up. Hopefully that wasn't just all one big nothing, and we're just left to guess for another 7, 8, 9 years till Street Fighter 7 comes out. It'd be nice to know what his whole deal was, especially because he's officially considered the boss of Street Fighter V. SF1 Sagat, SF2 Bison, SF3 is Gil, SF4 is Seth, and G is officially the boss of Street Fighter V. Which is weird, because he came out years after the game actually came out, but hey, that's Capcom's decision, take it up with them. What about Gil? He should be dead and gone. Street Fighter 6 does finally canonically take place after Street Fighter 3, but if you look in the environments, there's hints about the actual Illuminati still being around, like in the billboards. Like, you can see billboards like this that's like kind of like some self-help group stuff, right? And people are two color-toned skin, like Gil is. And also, this is the same family, the same shot from Yun's ending in Third Strike. Maybe it's just a little Easter egg, right? But maybe it's telling that Gil might have lost in Street Fighter 3, but for some reason, some way, somehow, the Illuminati is still around. And there's other still major things we gotta wonder about, like Rose's very, very unsubtle arcade ending in Street Fighter V. Her whole story mode is we beat Bison, yet somehow the world's still on the path to annihilation. And to truly stop the problem we're facing, we can't look to the future, we gotta look to the past. We have to start all over again, and from where? From zero. Get it? Get it? Poke, poke, nudge, nudge, Bob's your uncle, say no more, say no more. Yes. We got to start all over again from zero, aka Street Fighter Alpha. Rose was part of the emergency final season of Street Fighter V that existed strictly to buy time for the development of Street Fighter 6. So it's not like they randomly put this stuff out there, right? They know what they're doing. So what on earth can that possibly mean, basically? Are we time traveling? Mortal Kombat looks like it's time traveling again. Are we going the Mortal Kombat 1 route? By the end of Street Fighter 6, is it going to be Street Fighter 1? There's just so many unknowns, and Oro's ending as well, along with Rose, talks about an impending disaster. Like, we beat Bison, but the world's still going down a dark path. So that has to figure into this some way, somehow, right? They don't just bring this up for no reason, but we don't know. We're less than a month away. And we don't know major plot beats about the game, other than we're going to make our doofy guy and beat up Mad Gear gang members who wear cardboard boxes on their head. And I guess that's a blessing in a way that they just haven't given us wild chunks of the story ahead out of the gate. But it just seems so rare for such a major release to release so few actual details about the plot, considering the story mode for the first time in a very long time actually matters in Street Fighter 6. But all that said, my friends, that's what I got to say on the matter. So this is what I know. This is also some of the things we don't know. And if you know something I don't, or if you got any speculations yourself, by all means post it in the comments below. But otherwise, well, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.